Okay, this is part 2 of my video, and this is just going to focus on how to actually replace your cigarette outlet on a Ford Focus 02 to 04 or 2000 2004 with this USB auxiliary input jack. I searched high and low to find something that kind of looks stock. There's a couple marine applications that are made, but they're really big and bulky, and they just don't have a nice flush look to them. And I could find that some people actually just kind of like drill holes into their dash, and they just kind of glue in just a standard USB jack or just a standard USB plug. But they could never actually get it looking really nice. So I actually did a Google image search and just trying to figure out cars that actually had it, and maybe I could just buy the part itself from a dealership. And I came across that the Nissan Juke, that funny looking little Nissan car, actually has this part. Is actually from that. It's a USB auxiliary input jack that they use in there, and it basically just plugs into a slot that looks like a cigarette outlet, and adds that USB and auxiliary input functionality. Here's the part number here, the 28023-BH00A. You can actually get it from your dealership. There was only actually 9 in stock in the whole entire U.S., so it wasn't it wasn't a part that you could actually really get very easily. They actually had to transfer it from another dealership, and if they know what they're doing, they should be able to do a dealer-to-dealer transfer. Mine cost about $28. I think on Nissan Parts Online it was like $28, but I wasn't sure, or $17. So a few bucks cheaper, but I wasn't sure how much shipping was going to cost and if they actually could get it in stock. But it took 2 days to get to my dealership here in Atlanta. I had actually done a search a month before, and there was only 2 dealerships or 3 dealerships in the entire U.S. that actually had it in stock, and they wouldn't do a dealer-to-dealer transfer. So it might actually just be the rep that you talk to at your dealership if you can actually get it or not. If you have a couple dealerships in your town, one says no, just go try the other, because they should be able to do a dealer-to-dealer transfer. So again, that's the part number 28023-BH00A. It's from a Nissan Juke. And basically, just to show you what it is, mine's kind of glued in there. The connector that's there, that black piece, it's not the most fitting thing for the cigarette outlet in here. The cigarette outlet that we have in the Focus actually has an extra black ring that goes around it to actually secure it in there. So this is a little bit smaller diameter than what works, but basically I just use a little bit of hot glue to get it in there, to make it stay. You can kind of see, I guess, my hot glue in there. I mean, it doesn't really take a lot. And I'll have the wiring instructions. You can't really see, and I don't really feel like taking it out, but you just basically need a soldering iron from Radio Shack, and a little bit of solder. Pretty standard stuff. I mean, you can use a glue gun, you can use a soldering iron, and you're basically, I just took a standard 3.5 millimeter male-to-male cable, cut it in half, or just cut a couple inches off one end. So that's just a standard 3.5 millimeter, and when you cut that, there'll be 3 wires, a ground, and a left and right audio input. And then for the USB cable, you can use any standard USB cable. You're just going to cut the end off and just keep the male plug. So any printer cable, old cell phone cable, anything will actually work. Just cut it in half, and then you'll just have to strip back the wiring. And there'll be 4 wires, and then also a ground wire that goes around the outside of all the other wires. And there's just 5 wires that basically you'll have to wire in. It's pretty easy. They're very tiny, so it is a little bit difficult, but it wasn't actually too hard. And since I have my Bluetooth module in there, and I also wanted to add the auxiliary input functionality to my head unit on the FRDW-AUX, I just used a standard headphone splitter. And as long as you only have one input going in at one time, there won't be any conflict issues. But if you have something streaming from Bluetooth and then something streaming to the auxiliary port, the volume will just get really low, and it's just trying to, there's two signals trying to compete. But I'm never had that issue. So basically, all it is a standard. Excuse me. Standard headphone jack splitter. You plug one input in from the auxiliary inputs, and then the other one I just use from this is the cable from the Bluetooth module. I plug that in here. You can't see. Sorry. Okay. Basically, you just plug that in there. Man, that connector's tough. Hold on just a sec. Okay. So you just plug that in there. It's two cables into one, and then the actual female connector from the FRDW AUX, just plug that on top. And now you'll have input available from the auxiliary input, and then also from the Bluetooth module. So it gives you a little bit of extra options if your friend wants to play some music and you don't want to, or he doesn't want to go through the steps of having to pair the Bluetooth or whatever. Or if you just have a source from like your laptop or whatever and doesn't have Bluetooth, you want to play something off of it. It's pretty simple to do. But I'll show you the wiring instructions. I have a couple pictures. They're not great, but they'll give you a basic idea of how to do it. And then the power itself, for the that's all this does. I'm sure you could wire it up to actually do data from, because it just uses the standard 5 wires. From a USB input, if you have something else that can actually use the data connection, but I just wanted to use power. So from my Belkin module here, I just plug it in to the front of it, and it works quite well. It's got 2.1 amps on it, so it can power an iPad, iPhone, anything without any issues. And then it basically just works. You just kind of shove all this stuff back in there. Make sure you don't have any positive terminals exposed, which I have to retape that. And then you just shove it back in there and you're good to go. And then you'll have Bluetooth and the auxiliary input along with USB functionality. And then in the previous video I showed you the Belkin. I showed you how to actually get the power outlet back there. Probably should have put in this one, but whatever. You can watch both. So if you guys have any questions or anything, just let me know. I'm pretty quick on responding to comments. And yeah, that's it.